Mega best-selling author Michael Lewis has faced criticism in recent months for his defense of the now infamous cryptocurrency billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, co-founder of a now defunct company, FTX. In Lewis's book on the subject, Going Infinite, The Rise and Fall of a New Tycoon, it was published before Bankman-Fried was convicted of perpetrating a multi-billion-dollar fraud and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Now there's a paperback edition of the book incorporating all that has happened since, and Michael Lewis joins us now to talk about the criticisms and the new copy. Michael, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
I think the question everyone has is, do you feel differently now that you've seen him get sentenced to 25 years in prison?
It's mystifying to me that people read this book as a defense. It's just simply a description of what happened. And so I didn't. It didn't surprise me at all that he was convicted. On the face of it, the agreed upon facts, like the money was in the wrong place, he had the depositor's money in his private hedge fund, were so damning, and in my book, that I think it was hard to see anything but the trial ending the way it ended.
But there's an old kind of saying, at least one I've heard anyway, that to understand somebody is to forgive them. And I feel like by laying out what happened, as you say, it does sympathize the.
Oh, there's no question about that.
To Sam Bankman-Fried.
But I think it's more interesting to understand him. If you don't understand him, you can't understand how this happened. This is a guy who had Tom Brady at his beck and call, who had every venture capitalist in Silicon Valley wanting to invest in him. All the major heads of major banks wanted to be with him. Our political system was sort of at his mercy for a little bit. If you don't understand what the charm was, what the appeal was, you don't understand how the whole thing happened in the first place. It would be insane to write a book where you describe him as sort of a monster who's obviously a monster, would completely beg the question, how did this happen in the first place? So I happen to have privileged access. I had the ability to write it as a story, describe it, not letting him off the hook. Everything bad that happened is in the book.
Yeah.
It's just sort of leaving it to the reader to make what the reader will make of it. That's the interesting story.
He's still an enigma to me. I tell you, I read the book, fascinating read the second time around.
You read it twice?
Well, no, the paperback version,
Okay.
I have to say. You note in the afterword, though, that enough money has been recovered that all the investors could be repaid.
There are going to be repaid.
And so I just got to know, how does that happen?
So you have to know what he did. I think the public perception is like it was just one great theft. And what it was one great act of taking risks with other people's money without their permission. Like he took the depositor's money, and in the end, it was all invested in a pretty complicated venture capital portfolio without asking anybody if he could do this. You shouldn't do that. Now, if he'd done it really badly, there'd be no money left. But he did it pretty well. So the result is that there were $10 billion or so of customer deposits that were missing, and the bankruptcy people have recovered, I think, $16 billion. So in the end, the depositors will get their money back, and I'm one of them. So I get the little notices with interest. So that further sort of like just muddies the picture of what happened.
You are a rather prolific writer, and you've got a new series coming out with the Washington Post soon.
Yes.
Tell us about this.
Along with 6 other writers, sort of airdropped into the federal government. And I think this is a problem we have in our politics. We talk about the politics all the time and not about the government. And in the end, whoever we elect to be president is going to be running this 2 million person enterprise. And the idea it's like just the deep state or wasteful or whatever is so wrong. What people are doing inside our government is riveting, and they don't get enough attention. They're sort of like the carrot in the school play, that they sit in the back and no one pays them any attention unless they want to swat them around a little bit, and the politicians get to be the leads. If you focus on the people, the experts who are actually doing stuff, you start to think think differently about what the kind of person you want running this enterprise.
I tell the story all the time to people about one of the characters in your book, The Fifth Risk, the guy who spent his life studying how things drift in the ocean. So you can find bodies, you can find lost debris of all kinds, shipwrecks.
Essentially invented the field.
And so is there another person like that you're covering now in this new series?
So it's a piece of mine that will run. I'm the first writer in the series. It appears next week. And it's about a guy, his name is Chris Mark, who over 25 years figured out how to stop roofs falling on the heads of coal miners.
Wow.
A thing that killed 50,000 coal miners in the 20s. And he starts out as a coal miner and works his way out and gets inside the government. It's the only place you could have solved this problem. And it's a riveting story of kind of ingenuity and dedication. This is what people in the government do to a really narrow question, like like a question that, like, who does this? And that's what the series is. It's telling us who does this.
Gives new meaning to the Ronald Reagan quote. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Right. Michael Lewis, thank you very much. The paperback version of Going Infinite, including a new afterword, goes on sale tomorrow.